All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, SHIPIT Nation, YouTube station? We are back with another edition of the NBA show. It is Friday. It's the first Friday of 2025. Happy New Year to everyone out there. I got my guy BJ here with me. We had an exciting night over here at the Nation last night. Our very own Hebrew Cheetah, a.k.a. Rio, my Monday night partner, ship another 100K. And BJ and I were talking pre-show. That's his third 100K shipper, NHL, NFL, NBA, the trifecta, you betcha. Shout out Hebrew Cheetah, one of the GOATs, one of the best in the business, and he's one of our very own. You can get his slate playing 5 nights a week over here, and I'm telling you what, ladies and gentlemen, it's the best in the business. So head on over here to SHIPITNation.com, get his takes, BJ's takes, my core report. But BJ, enough about Rio. This is a Friday night show. How you doing, my man? How was your week? Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, man. Happy New Year. It's been great. Excited about Rio last night. And I think what we forgot to talk about, too, to finish up Rio, he had a baseball live final, too. You know what I mean? So quite the year in all the sports. So good for him. You know, real happy. Nobody grinds harder than him. But feeling good. Friday night, weird slate, bro. It's sweater weather in California. I got the crew neck on. You know, it's getting cold. It might rain. So we're getting all cozy, ready to watch some basketball tonight.
Thoughts and prayers to everyone out there in California with that 70-degree weather. We hate it for you. Yeah. Not only do I think, now that you say that, I think Hebrew Cheetah had like 3, possibly 4 live final states. I know it was more than 1. Might have been 2, but it was definitely more than 1. He's an absolute GOAT. Let's say hello to some people in the chat. Sean Sullivan in here, as always. Winslet, JT, Jason Turner, what's going on? Hebrew Cheetah himself is entered the building. Parabay, Desmond, Ricky Rose, Cody, Big Ed. What's going on, Big Ed? How you doing, my man? Ross K, King of all trades. Lyle, and last but certainly not least, Big Ant, Anthony Massey. He's here. Luis in at the buzzer. Should be an exciting slate. Got some injuries to talk about. We got 7 games to break it all down. We got another one of those slates where no late night hammers, so to speak, no West Coast games, no Max Christie 7-3 type of games to get Hebrew Cheetah to the top tonight, 3% owned. The last game goes at 9 p.m. Eastern. I guess that's semi-late to those East Coasters, but normal like a 9 or like a 9 or 10 Central, so 10 or 11 Eastern. But anyway, we got 7 games to go through. We're going to break it all down. We're going to be using our stone over here. But before we get going into that, make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit that subscribe. And I said it a minute ago, if you aren't a member over at the Nation, head on over there. You can enter the promo code PGA100. That would get you $100 off all the annual PGA packages, and we've been absolutely crushing it. D-Gen himself doing some shows. We got some content over there. Best golf package in the industry. That'll take you through all the way through the Super Bowl over here at the Nation. First game up. Let's dive right into it, BJ. We got the Hornets headed into the Pistons. Thoughts and prayers to Jaden Ivey. He's going to miss some be out for the foreseeable future. I have LaMelo Ball as questionable. No other major injuries that I'm aware of. Let me just take one more quick look. Yeah, LaMelo's questionable. Brandon Miller's questionable. Trey Mann is out. And then obviously Jaden Ivey would be out as well. But interesting game, right? Hornets don't play a lot of defense. But talk to me a little bit about this one, Hornets at Detroit.
Yeah, just throw in Fontecchio is out, which changes some stuff with Ivy being out, because we're going to kind of go through what's going to happen there. To the LaMelo stuff, him and Cody Martin both participated in shoot around today. So I would anticipate, at least LaMelo's back after taking a week off. But first, to get these out of the way, the Pistons ranked 29th in defense in December, and then the Hornets are dead last over the 7 to 8 weeks in defense as well. So over under, not as pretty at 219.5, 220. But I mean, this is a spot we're definitely going to want to attack. The first thing we'll break down is with Ivy and his injury. We're going to go through, I believe, 3 targets that we could have here. The first one is going to be probably one of the top value plays on the slate. Nasir Thompson, 4K. He's about a fantasy point per minute producer, somewhere in the mid to high 20s in minutes. I think on a slate like this, he's going to be popular. See, I saw that in the chat. I don't know if Beasley's going to be as popular as Thompson as we get closer, obviously depending on the start, but I anticipate he starts. But we have a couple hours to kind of see on that. And the next one, ugly one, throw open your mouth, is Tobias Harris at 4,900 on DraftKings. He's about his 30-ish minutes, I'm guessing, in this spot. And somebody else has to shoot the ball besides Cade here. So I would kind of, keep an eye on him. And I think I would rake him higher than Beasley, in my opinion. Beasley hasn't been shooting the ball very well. And then before we get to the two studs, Duren at 6'1", he gets a good matchup here. And he may get a few more shots than normal with no Ivy as we take some of those shots off the floor. So 6'1", I know it's a little bit of an expensive tag, but like I said, Hornets have been really bad defensively, both teams, but the Hornets specifically over the last couple of weeks. That kind of brings me down to both the studs, Cade and LaMelo. LaMelo, it's an ankle and a wrist, if I'm not mistaken, but it's a week off. He's young. I don't anticipate some minutes limits as he comes back and want to attack a bad Pistons defense over the last couple of weeks. So don't mind him at sub 10K. But really, I think I'm going to rank Cade higher. $200 more on DraftKings. The same thing that goes for Duren goes for him. I think he may get a few extra shots. And watching some of these games, I know a few weeks ago it was like this. I haven't really watched Pistons games over the last couple of weeks, but it always seemed like he looked to distribute first, and then later in games kind of shoot the ball more. I can see that changing. So I think his upside, obviously gets a slight increase with no Ivy. So I'll kind of check a box there over LaMelo. And then two more pieces is Mark Williams at 5,500 over his last three, 49, 31, 35 on DraftKings. Diabate's down in the G League now. So I think his price is just too cheap. And I like a check box as a preferred play there. And I'll mention Miles Bridges at 7,700. He really took advantage of no LaMelo over the last three, 59, 47, 57. That 47 was versus OKC. But the 59 and 57 versus Chicago and Washington, so high-paced games. But still, 47 spot on OKC, gotta love it. That's kind of where I stand here, really. I'm going to rank Thompson and Harris over Beasley personally, and maybe even Duren at 6,100.
Yeah, but we're currently showing 40% on Thompson at 4K. He's going to be super popular. Looks like he's going to be slotted into that starting lineup at 40%. Yeah, some people, Cody said that Beasley's going to be mega chalk. Maybe he is as well. What's your take on that? We're showing 5%.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, obviously, it makes sense in theory that he would be popular. But his price is up 5,500. Obviously, he's smashed at that tag before when Ivy's been out, but he was shooting the ball ridiculously well in that stretch, as well as rebounding at a super high clip. So I'm gonna go elsewhere. I think Thompson is gonna be the good chalk in that. I mean, I don't hate it if Beasley's percentage does stay this low, then obviously that's a pretty clear little, ownership swap. But I'd rather just kind of eat, what I consider a good chalk is as a guy that, is a fantasy point per minute versus a really bad defense. So maybe increase those numbers a touch with minutes in the high 20s.
Yeah, excellent breakdown there. My guy Rio says, get those K triple double bets in. You don't have to tell me twice, Hebrew Cheetah. You talk, I listen, baby. So let's go. We'll be getting some of those in for certain. Next up, we have the Magic headed north of the border to take on Tambo and his Toronto Raptors. The big boy is still missing for the Magic. Jalen Suggs obviously still in there, but no Banchero tonight, no Wagner on either side. And then on the Raptors, Emmanuel quickly came back chucking the other night. We do have RJ Barrett, I think, is questionable, BJ.
I think he's doubtful now, yeah.
Oh, he's doubtful. Okay, so we'll talk about it as he's out. But IQ was chucking. Scotty Barnes had a really good night the other night. Interesting game. Magic, Rio talks about how the Magic played really good defense, and they do. Don't have any really superstars anymore, but you can see the spread there, close spread, Magic at the Raptors.
Yeah, I mean, Rio's dead on, and as well as, they're one of the best teams in the league taking away the catch and shoot. So I think that might take a few plays out of the rotation, specifically Grady Dick at 5,500 for the Raptors side. But I'll keep this game kind of short and sweet here. Obviously, quickly at 6,900, I believe his ownership is going to be higher as we get closer to lock. I mean, he took almost 2 months off with the elbow injury, came back to 32 minutes. Obviously, it's a upper extremity injury, so he can obviously stay in shape. So wasn't too surprised at 32 minutes. But like I wrote down here, it's like he will be popular, right? Question mark, question mark. So if he stays pretty low owned, I mean, even though the Magic are strong defensively and take away the catch and shoot, I feel like that's just a tag that might be 800, 1,000 too cheap on DraftKings side. So I'll look to get to some of him. Staying on the Raptors side, that's pretty much it. I mean, I guess it's Scotty Barnes at sub 10K and our boy Patel, a little joke we've had for a couple weeks, but I guess those guys are okay at prices, but versus tougher defense, I'm not really going to get there, and I'll keep that side of the game, pretty short and sweet. If you guys have any questions on anybody else on this, or if you want to chime in, anybody on the Raptors, that's pretty much it for me. And then for the Magic side, I wish Suggs was cheaper because you'd want to play him. I mean, he's going to flirt with 20 shots. And if this was 7,700 on DraftKings, everybody would be running to click his name. Still getting some ownership at 8.3, but with the elevated tag and, mid-teens in ownership, I might go somewhere else. Not going to fall in love with any KCP hype. He's projecting well and getting some ownership, but 4,600 might be just too much, depend on his jumper. Obviously playing, big minutes in the 30s, but no thanks. No De Silva at 52, same thing. His price is kind of up. And then like the real question is, what do we do with Goga? Goga, who he didn't get any fourth quarter run, didn't watch that game. I don't think it was foul trouble. Wendell Carter's played the whole fourth quarter. So interesting. He's projecting, obviously as the highest owned player owned in this game at 5,100. Don't love it. So as of right now, if the slate started in 4 minutes, I wouldn't get to it. I can see why at a lower tag and getting the late run to close the game last time out and pretty productive. I think he was 2 rebounds off a double-double, if I'm not mistaken. But, it's kind of weird, this whole Wendell Carter Goga thing. I mean, Goga for a week took over all the minutes and, was playing, opposite of Wendell and getting his mid-30s in minutes. And the matchup obviously is great that we want to attack with Pirtle on the other side, but that's kind of where I stand. I guess as of right now, if the slate started, I wouldn't get to really anybody unless Quickly was a low ownership type play versus a good defense. But that I'm going to have to dive in more as we kind of get to lock. But as of right now, how I'll stand on this game is I'm not really getting to anybody, especially if Suggs is going to be in the mid-teens in ownership.
Yeah, excellent breakdown there. On FanDuel, only 7,700. I know you said that for DK, but 7,700 is a good price tag for Suggs over there on FanDuel if you're playing over there. Then no interest in the Raptors. Magic defense, too good. Moving on to the next game, should be an interesting one to talk about. Celtics coming off their thrashing of the Timberwolves, headed into H-Town, take on the Rockets. No Al Horford for the Celtics. We have Kristaps Porzingis and Jaylen Brown questionable. No Thompson for the Rockets serving the second game of his suspension. So obviously with the news with Kristaps and Jaylen, let's talk about how them being in first, and then we'll talk about if they were out, who you would play. Sam Hauser, I think, hit 5 or 6 threes last night. But Celtics at the Rockets, which should be a good real life game. 220 total. Celtics are 2-point favorites.
Yeah, no, really late on last night's slate, like 2 or 3 minutes before lock. My last spot was Jackson Hayes or Sam Hauser, and I ended up going Hauser, which I think helped me make the money. I don't know what Jackson Hayes finished with. I didn't go back and look at lineups, but I think it was relatively close. But Hauser had like 20 at half or something. He had like 4 threes. It was like 3 consecutive possessions where he had a 3. But that was pretty much it. So what I did notice in that game though was obviously Horford was in, but Quade came in and played some very important minutes. So we'll go first, like what you said. If Porzingis and Jaylen Brown are in, don't really love much here. This is obviously Celtics playing last night, kind of middle total here. Normally we see an increased team total on the Celtics, but I think it's going to be respect for the Rockets defense. It's, Boston, I'm sorry. The respect for the Rockets defense. They're first in taking away catch and shoot, and the Celtics are second. So as far as a 7-game slate where we're targeting games that we see, have upside in them. Obviously, the Celtics shoot a million threes, as everybody saw last night on a TNT game. But both teams are really going to take it away. I don't think this game has extreme upside for stacking because of that reason. And additionally, too, the Rockets don't shoot as many catch and shoots as what you would anticipate. So respect for the game as a whole defensively. If Porzingis and Jaylen Brown are in, don't love much at all, really, to be honest. I don't love anything. You can make a case for some of the Rocket pieces on the other side in Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green for the price and the role and the minutes and the amount of shots, even though it's a tough defense. But nobody if they play. If they're both out, let's go both out first. If they're both out, Queta played some big minutes. I think it was 20 or 19 last night and 22 in the game before that. I would anticipate he does get the start, but I think that those minutes are pretty capped there. Like, I don't see him coming in and playing like mid-20s in minutes. I think a ceiling minute, number is 22. So I would be a little careful of the automatic like lock and load at almost 4K and at, call it 19, 20 minutes. And the same goes for Cornet as well. I would anticipate they kind of go split minutes here and they both run 18, 19 minutes, and then maybe like Tatum runs the 5 for the extra amount. So I would kind of leave that there, but pretty tough to get away from in cash games or in smaller field stuff if Queta does get the start with not much value aside from Castle, who we'll get to later. So I'll kind of leave it at that. For the Rocket side, Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green, it's as far as guards go, I mean, they're both going to play high 30 minutes. They're both going to take a ton of shots. I get Boston, is a good defensive team, not really over the last couple of weeks, but obviously always taking away catch and shoot. So I'll label both of them as kind of like volume plays, if you will, especially if they're low owned. You get a Jalen Green at 1-2% with a tough matchup with the Celtics, and that shot does fall. I think it's worthy of some GPP darts. And then to touch on, Cam Whitmore before we get to my favorite play from the Rockets. All the coaches are loving him. He's getting all the coach speak, but he has to be efficient shooting. And at 3,900, it obviously, garners some ownership as we have 15% or 14% projected here. But that shot has to fall. He had a couple games where he played increased minutes, and I think he had like 8 rebounds and 6 rebounds, but not as of late over the last few. So I'm going to leave him kind of down and not get to him as much if he is at 15%. And then to kind of finish up the game, Şengün at 9,400. This would be a play if is out, obviously with Horford out and then Porzingis additionally out. I'll kind of target 9,400 Şengün where ownership is going elsewhere at center and kind of being a sneaky play versus a Celtics team that does give it up at the rim, which would include Queta and Cornet, which I think he could take advantage of.
Yeah, excellent breakdown there. Did you mention Tari Eason? I see he's questionable.
He's doubtful. Yeah, he's doubtful.
Okay,
yeah. So I'm anticipating him being out. That's kind of it for me. I guess I did. Lastly, who I didn't talk about was Brooks and Jabari Smith. I think both those guys, if Eason somehow does play, which I don't anticipate, all those guys are automatically out. You could play the minutes game on Dylan Brooks at 5,400, but I think that price is just I think we're priced out. I think we're just a little too expensive there.
Yeah, DB's been playing like 35 plus minutes, shooting it like 15 plus times. So I don't hate that. And then I was doing some quick math while you were talking, and the Celtics, they probably shot more than this, but I counted 51 threes that they shot last night between 5 dudes. So, I mean, they are just absolutely chucking out there.
I think sorry to interrupt. I think at one point in the third quarter, they had 5 guys with multiple threes go in. So it's just an unbelievable kind of take that they're taking on the NBA game. But if you're going to shoot it that many times, there is going to be upside, right? Like, we talk about it. I've talked about it before, but those are 5-point plays where you go, as if you stack the game, like assist to 3 on DraftKings, those are big swings, especially if you get them going both ways. So I think in the future, like obviously people will be on it, but that's a great spot to game stack. But tonight's matchup is a little tougher.
All right, good deal. Excellent breakdown. Lachlan likes Whitmore, Fritz King. Hey, Fritz King, Bruce Brown. He is the best lock on this slate. We already got through the Raptors game. We'll talk about your other boy here in a minute, Prosper. Appreciate everybody tuning in. All 200 of you. Just do us a quick favor. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe. It helps us out a lot. We got my guy Wardo. Hey, appreciate you joining as always. Wardo, Gangrene's in the house. Steven Neighbors joined us as well. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We're breaking it all down for you over here on this Friday we're also celebrating Rio and his 100K that he shipped him last night. Got him a shipper. Congratulations to our guy, Hebrew Cheetah. Next up, next game on the slate is going to be the one we've all been waiting for, the Washington Wizards heading into NOLA to take on these Pelicans. It's not every day, BJ, that you see a -7 next to the Pelicans name, one of the worst teams in the NBA. But, hey, when you're playing the Wizards, you're going to get that. You have no Brandon Ingram, no Zion Williamson. You got Trey Murphy, who's been chucking. CJ's been chucking. DeJounte Murray's been cold, but he's been shooting a bunch. Yves Misi, hopefully I pronounced that name right. But any love for these Pelicans? They're slated to score 120 points. Jordan Poole has been playing. Kyle Kuzma has been coming off the bench. I know he came in at halftime. Bilal Coulibaly is out for the Wizards tonight. That's all the injuries that I'm seeing. But talk to me a little bit about this game. Wizards at the Pelicans.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is going to be a target. One of the couple of games that people are going to run to target on the slate. But I absolutely love, and I think it'll increase as we get closer to lock, but I love the Wizards being unowned. Now, it's hard to distinguish between, who's going to produce, but I mean, the Pelicans are one of the worst teams in the league in transition points, rim points, catch and shoot. They give it up. And these are some pretty interesting price on the Wizards side. So we'll start there. Obviously Kuzma coming off the bench. I mean, I don't think he starts because he's on a minutes limit. I think he's got like 21 and 22 in the last 2 games. But it's going to be tough to distinguish. I think the Jordan Poole stuff at 82, like this would be a game where you're like, I want to play him, especially at no ownership. But I think at his price, we're ultimately capped. I mean, he's got a couple of games in the 50s over the last 15 or 20. But 82, that's a big boy tag. And obviously he has upside, but how much at that tag? So I'll kind of label him as a secondary play from the Wizard side. And then, the following guys are just kind of in a jumbled mess. I mean, Bub Carrington, Brogdon, Champagnie, Sarr. I think all those prices are fair and they're pretty right to where they should be as the Wizards have kind of split all these minutes pretty, evenly. But I think one of these guys is going to produce versus, one of the worst teams in the league as far as defense goes. So I'm throwing darts, but, I think you're going to want one of these guys. I think it's going to be Bub Carrington for me, followed by Champagnie and then Brogdon. And I think it's going to be Joval over Sarr for me. I think this just screams like such a Joval spot. 5,100 has been absolutely smashing, as you can see here on the Stone, 1.4 fantasy points per minute. I think this would be a game where he gets a few extra minutes. There's something about these bad matchups and bad teams where he gets the extra 4 or 5 minutes, which to him is just outrageous for him. So I think Joval is going to be my favorite play as the field would agree on here. And then followed by, Bub Carrington and then Champagnie and then Sarr. And then, like I said, it's not a pool party for me tonight. I don't know. I don't have chat up. I'll check it out to see if Sean Sullivan's in here and he says I'm wrong. So curious to hear that take. But then jumping over to the Pelican side, I mean, you led with it. I mean, DeJounte Murray's been, atrocious from the field, specifically at the rim. But this is going to be a good spot for him. Now, I will start this with saying over the last couple of weeks, the Wizards haven't been terrible defensively. So I think like this team total might be a little, too juicy. I think this game should be, a little bit closer in spread, call it like a 3 or 4 point spread. So personally, I'm going to build lineups with the thought process that the Pelicans team total is around 112, 113 versus, 120. But I mean, with Murray at 8,700 on DraftKings, that's not like load him in like he's mid 6K tag. That's flirting with 9K. And that's a real tag, especially that he hasn't been super efficient from the field. But he'll still profile as my favorite play. Followed by Trey Murphy, like you said, he's been balling. I mean, if you just look at his last 5 or 6 games, at a 73 tag for tonight, he's been producing at 45, 39, 48, 31, 40, and 40 on DraftKings totals. And if you're doing your math right, that's right there around that 6X number. So if we get one of those games from him tonight, you would feel pretty good as the game ended. And then followed to finish Misi, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but 5,800 in the low 30 minutes. And then CJ, playing well-ish at 7,500, but I think I'd rather go to an unowned Fred VanVleet at the exact same price, with him being really like the second to third option versus like maybe the third or fourth option for the Pelicans. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I guess Herb Jones, I mean, he's getting, ownership, but at 5,300, you can see why the field is running to roster him. But to kind of finish up this game as a whole, with the ownership going to the Pelican side, I love the Wizards side. More of a GPP multiple lineup type deal, but I think you're going to want like one, maybe two of these Wizards on teams, and that could be really helpful for you winning a tournament.
Yeah, excellent breakdown there. People talking about it. Joe Val, revenge game, former Pelican great Joe Val, that is coming back home to New Orleans, where he shined for those 0 playoff victories with those Pelicans. Is Kuzma going to be happy coming off the bench? It looks like we have Malcolm Brogdon starting. I wonder if that stays true. Jose Alvarado is back. He's been gone for about 2 months. I mean, obviously he shouldn't play a whole lot of minutes, but he'll eat into somebody there. So interesting take there. I don't think you can play him. Just noting that he will be coming back tonight for the Pelicans. Next game on the slate, another good real life game. We got the Isaiah Hartenstein revenge game. Got those Knicks, got those Thunder, got Miles McBride. Hopefully going to suit up for us tonight and campaign. It's not getting that starting jump, but Jalen Brunson looks to be back tonight. Should be a really good game. Talk to me a little bit about this one, BJ. Knicks at OKC.
Yeah, no, it'll be a fun one. Real quick, I saw Gang Green in the chat with Holiday at 5,100. Obviously, talk about Drew Holiday for the Celtics. It's a back-to-back. They played last night, and he played 39 minutes. So he's not questionable here, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of out leading up to lock, or if he just gets a dump in minutes and kind of plays in those low 20s. So that's kind of why I didn't touch about that in the Celtics game, is I don't think this is, one, the best matchup with the Rockets, and then additionally, I don't think his minutes are super secure after playing 39 minutes last night. But to jump back to what we're talking about, Knicks and Thunder, this is going to be a fun one. I mean, this is another spread that makes me really scratch my head. I mean, the Thunder are 4.5-point favorites. I would think that number would be higher. Obviously not a betting show, but I've already clicked Thunder at 4. So it's the ultimate Knicks win spot here once I said that. But obviously, yeah, we hope that Deuce McBride is back, or if Brunson is out, that he is back. Pretty unfortunate. Additionally, I don't know if you said it, but Caruso, I think he got downgraded to out over the last hour. But just kind of one of your classic matchups here. I mean, the Knicks, who, have been really efficient on offense, are playing against one of the most efficient defensive teams. Pretty fair over under at 22 or 23, whatever it is now, in a close game. So the first thing I'll start with here is that there's no ownership, right? And that's what makes this game intriguing, is you get, SGA, who, gets popular on slates, but always produces. And those are in blowouts. And so I'm curious to see if this game does stay close, how much an SGA can score. So I'll highlight this game as kind of a sneaky game stack. The Thunder are really good versus the ball handler, like in pick and rolls and stuff. So that's going to increase guys like Bridges, Hart, OG, just that I think they can get a little bit more open looks than they're used to. Obviously not known for shooting. I mean, Bridges has been hot recently, but those guys will all kind of, get a small bump because of that. But, to kind of narrow it down tighter, we'll start with Dort at 4,200. I mean, he's 30 minutes. He'll be a top value tonight. It's just too many minutes for such a small tag. And then I already brought up SGA. I mean, he's got pretty high upside here with no ownership. So I'll kind of check a box of a preferred play there. And then jumping over to the Knicks side, I mean, Cat going up against a team that gives it up at the rim at 10-4 in a close game, where he'll get his high 30 in minutes, I would assume, if the game stays close. Well, even if it doesn't, I think they still run. But he's going to be my favorite play with the Knicks. And then to kind of come back to what I said, I mean, OG, Bridges, and Hart coming off back-to-back triple-doubles. But I think they all get a small increase with the Thunder attacking the ball handlers so hard. So whether it is Brunson or Campaign or Deuce McBride, whatever it may be, I think we'll downgrade those guys and upgrade Hart, Bridges, and OG, with Bridges being my favorite, followed by Hart. And then the last note I'll have on this game is Wallace didn't start last night. I mean, people have used him over the last couple of weeks as kind of like a mid 3K, high 3K value piece when we don't have that much value. He obviously did not play really bad last night. I think he had high teens in fantasy points, but really interesting to see if he is back in the starting lineup. If he is, I don't mind that as a low 30, mid 30s, $3,800 play.
I'm surprised. I was waiting for you to say him and you didn't say him. So my boy Cat, no Cat love tonight. Like, he's expensive. We're showing all those Knicks sub 5%. I mean, I don't hate Cat. Oh yeah, I see that Jake Swell's coming in late too. Likes Cat. And then the one thing I'll say about SGA, you know, if you're going to build, and you're going to build this game to be close, the last 2 times he's played 35 plus minutes, put up 74 DraftKings points and 69 DraftKings points. So if he gets 35 plus, you know, I would build for that. He's going to blow up, but don't hate this game at all. I wouldn't be surprised either. Last thing, BJ, if Tibbs plays these starters like 42 plus minutes and says, you know what, screw this. I want to beat the Thunder. We're playing our dogs, you know, 45 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever the case may be, and plays Hart, Brunson, Cat, you know, plays them all 40 plus. I don't know your thoughts on that.
I want to plug. Oh, absolutely. I want to plug in what I know. Rio does this before the show, but I'm curious to see what running like a Towns, SGA, and like a Dort, and then you get to pick your piece between the Knicks. I mean, you don't have much, but I mean, like you alluded to, and I said before, I mean, it's a low ownership game right now on a 7-game slate that obviously has upside with the locked in minutes of the Knicks. And SGA showing his production in blowouts. Now, what if this game stays close? So I'll highlight it as if you're making 10 or plus lineups, you have to get a game stack of this, I would say.
Yeah, a lot of chat about this game, back and forth. Wardo, I'm with you. I wish this game was on TV. Would really like to see it, and I may even have to watch it on the NBA channel. Next up, how many games we got left, BJ? We got
2 left, right?
2 left, yep. 2 left. We got these Cleveland Cavaliers who time and time again are just out there balling. Polished off the Warriors the other night, polished off the Lakers a couple nights ago as well. Now head into Dallas to take on no Luka and the Mavs. You got Kyrie. Got some big news here, right? PJ Washington, I think, is questionable. Spencer Dinwiddie, for some reason, still $6,600. He disappointed in a major way the other night. But, man, this Cavs team, I was watching some of that Warriors game the other night. They just got dudes at every position. I mean, they got the Twin Towers. They got 2 really good guards. This team is loaded. Obviously, they've only lost 4 times all season, but you know, slated to score another 120 tonight, taking on this Mavs team. Kyrie, you want to talk about revenge? Kyrie taking on his former Cavs. I think they're revenge there. I say that jokingly, BJ, because all these guys play for like 4 or 5 teams now.
I was going to say that when you talked about Joe Val, like everybody in the NBA is like on their 4th team. It feels like. Yeah.
So I say that jokingly because I know people use it to, you know, pick players. But anyway, Cavs at the Mavs, 7-point spread, 231 point total.
Yeah, so the ultimate jinx here won. I've already clicked Cavs -7. I think, you know, they've been so efficient offensively. And first and foremost, you know, shout out to Kenny Atkinson. I mean, he, you know, was stuck coaching the brutal, what was it, one of the worst teams in NBA history for the Nets for a long time. I think it was like 3 or 4 years. And if I'm not mistaken, he went to Golden State, I want to say. But anyways, good for him to be back. And then, you know, coaching, you know, record-wise, the best team in the league. Just so efficient on offense, so efficient on defense, just blowing teams out of the water. And, you know, kind of the same old story that we say as far as like, you know, the Cavs 4 players that start in that starting lineup is you can get to them every night. I like to target them more in games where obviously the game stays close because these are tags and they show production in these, you know, double-digit blowout wins. So we want to get to them in spots where the game stays close and they just destroy tags. First and foremost, you know, the biggest news in this game is obviously going to be the PJ Washington stuff. Don't really have a lean, but Jason Kidd did come out and say that it's obviously going to be Quentin Grimes that's going to fill that role. He is priced up a little bit at 5,800, but I think this is a super blowout if PJ Washington is out. And if he does end up playing, then I think this is just kind of like a 10-point kind of win for the Cavs. But starting with the Cavs side, I mean, the same thing we talk about, Mitchell and Garland, right? I don't think I think we take it a little too hard when I build lineups, at least is going like a max one of these guys. With Garland down in price, and when you watch these games, the rotations, in the second quarter and third quarter, and even when the game does kind of blow out a little bit, they kind of play opposite each other. So they start the game together and they play opposite. They could both produce, if that makes sense, when they get their minutes, in the correct kind of like bracket of getting their minutes. So I don't mind, I wouldn't say play it tonight, but in the future going forward, I don't think this is like necessarily a max one spot between these guys, especially with Mitchell down and Garland down. But it's Garland for me with the discount over Mitchell tonight. I think that this game does get out of hand and they're going to score points. I think I'd rather just take Garland there with the extra $1,100 in savings. And then, going down to the Mobley and the Allen stuff. I mean, if PJ Washington doesn't play, who the heck is going to guard these guys down there? I mean, obviously you have Lively and Gafford guarding Allen, but who on their roster is going to guard Evan Mobley? So is it going to be Clay? Is it going to be Dinwiddie? I mean, go ahead and look. If PJ Watson and Maxi Kleber are out, and they have nobody. So I don't think they run double center with Lively and Gafford. So I would highlight Mobley if PJ Washington is out, including Maxi. But if they're both in, then I think I'm going to lean Allen at 6,600 and take the discount there. That's pretty much it. I mean, you could make a case for like Karis LeVert off the bench in a blowout, or even Ty Jerome, but those guys haven't really been producing lately, specifically Ty Jerome. So I'll just kind of leave it at those four for the Cavs. And then jumping over to the Mavericks side, I guess these are just okay plays. I'm okay with Kyrie at 9,200. I think the field would agree at about 10, 11%. I think that's just like, I'll play him in some lineups type of ownership, because we obviously know he has the upside with the increased usage with no Luka. Throw in, his old team, but I think the Cavs are efficient and they're going to score a bunch of points, and the Mavericks are going to need to shoot, quickly and often to stay in it. So okay with Kyrie, and I'm okay with Quentin Grimes at 58, but those are both, like priced out price tags, if you will. As a player rostering these guys, you feel like you can't play it just because of the extra $500 in DK salary. So I'll keep it short and sweet there. That's pretty much it. If PJ Washington does play, don't love it. So I'm going to get away there, but I'm kind of hoping for, them to be out and the Cavs kind of route, and I'm going to get to some Garland and some Mobley on my side.
Excellent breakdown there. No Isaac Okoro either for the Cavs. Someone mentioned that in the chat. We got a lot of banner going back and forth. Are the OKC Thunder any good? Are they not? Are the Cavs the best team in the NBA, or are they not? Hey, great banner. Love it. 275 of you watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Love the dialogue on this fine Friday, January 3rd. We're going to have another shipper tonight. Hopefully it's you out there shipping that DK number. Last game of the night, BJ. And I want to spend some time on this one, because you run the optimal on FanDuel, you run the optimal on DK, you're getting flooded with Nuggets, you're getting flooded with Spurs. Obviously has something to do with the price, something to do with the total. But talk to me about this game. Who are your favorite pieces in this game, and where do you think this one ranks, compared to maybe that Pelicans and Wizards game?
So I absolutely love this game more. And like I said, I think those are the two top games on the slate as far as a targeting perspective. But with Shohan out and, probably the Spurs probably starting Castle at 3,400, I mean, it's right that he's, high 20. I hope it stays at high 20s ownership. I think it gets higher as we get, the news that he's going to start. I believe he's the clear start here. I mean, there's cases to be made that a Keldon Johnson might start, or Zach Collins. I mean, we don't have him listed here, but one of those guys could start to help, a Joker on the other side. But I think we're wrong. I think there's no Champagny here. I think it's Castle, or, in a weird kind of universe, it's Keldon Johnson or Zach Collins. But great chalk on Castle, so I'll start there. The Keldon Johnson stuff at 4K is super interesting. And to throw in Harrison Barnes at 36, I mean, these guys are going to get minutes. Harrison Barnes, I mean, it's an ugly roster, but, if you're looking to get a little bit different here at sub 10K in ownership at a 3.6 tag for a guy that, can produce in his mid 20s to high 20s in minutes. I'll kind of check the box there. But the real question is, like, do you play Wemby, or do you play Joker, or do you not play any of them? And I think the matchup, like, from like not diving into the stats, is you can't play Wemby because, he's going to get eaten up by Joker. But I think, like, statistically speaking, this is a good spot for Wembanyama. So I'll lean Wemby over Joker. Just the Nuggets. I mean, they've been so bad defensively and just give up so many points. So those will be kind of my like targeted plays from the Spurs side. Rounding out with Vassell, however you want to pronounce that, at 6,200. He's getting the minutes, getting a ton of shots. Obviously, we see games where he starts games like 1 for 9 and 2 for 8, but I think more often than not, we can find games in this type of matchup where the Nuggets give it up that he comes out with 25 and 5 with a steal or a block, and he could, really, pay off that $6,200 price tag. But to round out the Spurs, I mean, I like everybody. I mean, I didn't mention Chris Paul at 6,300. Don't want to get there personally at 20% ownership. But then jumping over to the Nugget side, it's Joker above everybody else. I'd rather go Wemby than Joker with the discount and, the Nuggets kind of giving it up. But in the same token to what I said earlier, I mean, isn't this just a spot where like you see the matchup and you're like, doesn't Joker just absolutely eat versus Wemby? I mean, not really.
He eats versus everybody though.
Well, he does. But like even the other game, obviously, I think he was like the quickest NBA or the quickest player in NBA history minutes wise to get to like 20, 15 and 15. But I mean, do we think Wemby like affects some of these jumpers? If he does match up with them, that kind of brings me into the thought process of like, they're going to bring somebody else in to guard Joker. So Wemby doesn't get eaten up because he could just be too physical for him. So, but what it sounds like from you, you're on Joker over Wemby. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I didn't know where you were going with that, but I mean, I think Joker's so good. Like he'll use his ass to move Wemby's, beanpole butt out of the way. And just like, I think he can get creative in the way he, gets away from Wemby and possibly get him in foul trouble. I think with Wemby, I mean, Wemby's probably solid for, 50, 55, where I think Joker, if Joker gets 65, 70, I think that's kind of where he's at. I mean, can Wemby get 80? Yeah, he's done it, but I think Joker's more likely to, to have a ceiling game than Wemby, just my personal opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. No. I mean, like whenever they're on the slate together, it feels like it's a discussion that we always have, right? And rightfully so. It's so much salary and the upsides change so much. So I'm leaning Wemby with super close, and then shout out to Little Neck. We didn't lead the show with that, but Little Neck back in the Discord, he's in chat. We love seeing him back, with the 4 games versus Denver. I'll throw it up on the screen. Little Neck diving deep, 1.8 fantasy points per minute. And then you throw on Joker without Aaron Gordon, it's above 2. So I don't think you could go wrong with either one of these guys today. But that's pretty much it. I mean, if we're diving into the external pieces from the Nuggets, I mean, Jamal Murray, he's going to project well. He's been shooting better, and he's going to get Castle on the other side, in my opinion. He's sub 8K. I don't mind that in kind of a high-paced, kind of game environment. And Russ is going to get some love, but I can't get behind Russ at 6,600 on DraftKings. I know he's been playing well, playing, some bigger minutes with Gordon out, but I don't have much for that. Are you in the same boat with Jamal and Russ Westbrook?
Yeah, it's Joker for me. And then the chat saying play Joker and Wendy, aka Wemby, together. I don't know, man. I'm just a notable Wemby hater, but he could do it against the Knicks, or who was it the other night that he was playing and should have smashed in like.
Wasn't it Washington or something?
Yeah, last Friday or something. But
that was on like the $2,500 tournament. I played Wemby, and I remember because I think we said something on the show because it was Joker and Wemby. Wemby had like 7 points through the middle of the second quarter. Somehow still got to like a reasonable like 50 or something. But yeah, that was pretty ugly to watch. And the whole time I'm thinking about you say just play Joker and move on, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
We'll see. That's all 7 games. We appreciate you tuning in. Hey, it's Friday. I'm feeling in a good mood, BJ. Give us your play of the night. One guy at the end of the night when everybody's going to bed, or in my case, waking up, is going to be on the winner. Who's going to be on the winner tonight on the DK slate?
Jeez, this is let's give them 2 because, like I said, like sometimes I'll say this and like the show will go on and like I feel like I have to play them almost. But if I had to pick right now, I think if Quickly at sub 7K stays unowned, I think that's somebody you like want to get to. So my man, what'd you call him earlier? IQ at sub 7K. I think, you got to really think about getting him in lineups. And if he gets his run that he got last night at sub 7K and no ownership, you're going to be really kicking yourself because you'll see him in the winter. And then, kind of the lower owned one, which is a little popular, but damn, man, every time I don't roster him, he goes off. So I'm loading him up tonight. Is Joe Val at 51, smashing up against, one of his former teams in an ugly, well, not an ugly game. It's a fun game from fantasy perspective, but ugly basketball-wise game. 5,100, gets a few extra minutes versus a bad team, doubles, and drops like 37 DraftKings points tonight.
Nice. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give you one. I'm getting some hate in our Discord right now from one of our own. I'm getting some hate with all my Wemby slander. I'm gonna go SGA. I think SGA is a dog tonight. Goes for 40 real life points, 75 plus DK points. I think he's a dog tonight, and he wants to get this dub. Should be a good game. That'll do it for us over here at the Nation. If you aren't a member, make sure you head on over there to SHIPITNation.com. Enter that promo code PGA100. That'll get you $100 off your first annual membership over there. We certainly appreciate you tuning in. I'll be back Monday with Mr. 100K himself, Rio. Hit us up in the Discord if you need us, but don't do it 5 minutes before. Rio's got to make his lineups. BJ's got to make his lineups. We got to make it. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy that NFL. We'll see you Monday. Let's ship it.